Hey there, this is Joe Robinson, and this is my judges' remarks video for the Natasha Guitar Competition. It was a great honor and privilege to be able to judge all the performers. I really found so many of the pieces that you shared to be so inspiring. It was really remarkable to see so many different countries that participated, and I'm gonna give you some feedback on your performances. I have 13 pages of notes here, so it's gonna be quite a bit to get through, but I hope you'll find some value in what I share with you. Please know I'm an expert on my opinion, so I might have an opinion on something regarding your performance that you may not agree with, and that's totally okay. I would say take it for what it's worth. It's just an outside perspective, and the criteria for judging your performance was out of a total of 100, there were 50 points given to the performance quality. There were 20 points given to the level of dynamics and articulation, and that's a big one for me. I'll talk more about that in a moment. There were 25 points given for the creativity or accuracy, depending on whether it was an original song or an arrangement or a cover, and 5 points for the difficulty level of the piece. So I tried to be as fair as I could with judging one performance against another. Obviously, it's somewhat of a subjective thing, and it's quite difficult to be totally objective about something like a musical performance, but I did my best, and I hope you'll feel that it's a fair score that I gave you. Without further ado, let's jump right into it, and please forgive me if I mispronounce anyone's names. I certainly don't intend to do that. We'll go through the performances one at a time. So first up is Miguel Mendes from Portugal with Man, I Feel Like a Woman, his original arrangement. So great job, Miguel. Here are my notes. I wrote that you have a good backbeat feel in the chorus. I remember listening to this Shania Twain tune, and the chorus backbeat felt really, really good. I liked the bass line walking up in the chorus. I felt that at 1 minute and 37 seconds there was a harsh note, and I recall there being several harsh notes in the performance. That to me is a dynamic. It's to do with dynamics. If the melody notes are beautifully clear, that's what I'm listening for. But if they become harsh and the attack is too much for my ear, and I'm listening with open-back headphones, trying to really appreciate all the nuances of what everyone's doing. Yeah, I heard a few harsh notes. I felt like the arrangement was really, really good. It was a real solid arrangement overall, a very cool solo, and it felt complete. And I could tell that you put a lot of work into the arrangement. It's definitely not an easy song to arrange on one hand, but on the other hand, it's such a catchy song. It's a really great choice of a piece to arrange. Here's a funny Shania Twain story. When I was a kid in Australia, my bus driver had one cassette tape, and he used to play Shania Twain every day when I would ride the bus to school, and I rode the bus for an hour to school every day. So I heard that Shania Twain album a lot. I made a remark that what I would work on if it was me working on this piece is the articulation of the melody and the touch. I would try to avoid having those harsh notes in there, and I felt that some melody notes were lost in the chorus, so I would really try to articulate those a little more clearly. For your score, I gave you 40 out of 50 for the performance. The dynamics and articulation, 15 out of 20. Creativity, I gave you 25 out of 25, and the difficulty level I said was a 4. And my grand total score for you was 84. So, good job, Miguel. Moving on, and thanks very much for sharing this great performance. Next up, we have Nia Kuranova with Sunset Aglow. So this was an original composition, and I want to say, Nia from Bulgaria, this was a really beautiful performance. I really enjoyed hearing you play, and this performance stuck with me. I really loved your touch, your finesse. It was a really masterfully composed piece. So bravo, I really, really liked it. Here are my notes. I wrote that I loved the composition. I felt that there was great intentionality in your phrasing, outstanding dynamics. That's one of my favorite things, is the touch and dynamics of a performance. I felt that it has a fantastic build and it really rocks. So it has a great energy build up. I felt that the guitar was perfectly in tune, which is great. Not every performance I had that to say about, because the tuning of your guitar, I think, is really, really important. I said that you have great left hand technique, really beautiful left hand technique. I felt that you could potentially lean in to the notes, the triplet notes in the intro a little more. So that's something to consider, just leaning into them, kind of making them maybe a little more exaggerated. And what I'd work on would be more composing, because I love the way you write, and I want to just say that I really appreciated your performance. So for the scores, I gave you a performance score of 46 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation score of 18 out of 20, creativity 25 out of 25, and a difficulty level of 4. So that was quite a high score, and I felt that you really deserved it, Nia. So great job. I'm not sure if it's Nia or Naya, but either way, great job. Okay, moving on. Next up is Yang Jiashen with Breezy Dawn from China, an original composition. My notes say, and I'm just going to pull up your video so I can just kind of visualize what I was listening to. Here we go. Don't play it. Ah, yes, Billy Billy. I feel like Billy Billy doesn't have the sound quality quite down. I could tell the fidelity of the videos on Billy Billy was not as strong, but I didn't let that affect the way I judged the performances, of course. So I wrote that you have gorgeous chords and phrasing. There were some harsh higher notes, some notes that the attack and the dynamics was a little harsh and abrasive to my ears. I felt that it was rushing in a few places. I have a tendency to do that myself. I wish that there was a little more melody to hold on to. Really outstanding chordal moves and melodic elements. I would love to hear, well, I don't know what I wrote. Can't read my own writing here. Great dynamics and touch/articulation besides the harsh notes. So, really enjoyed this piece. Good job. For a performance score, I gave you 42 out of 50. For the dynamics and articulation, I gave you 17 out of 20. For the creativity, I gave you 25. You wrote this song, and I felt like there were a lot of original elements. And for the difficulty level, I gave you a 3 out of 5. Next up, we have Zhen Fanming from China with Nab That Chap. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, but good job with this performance. Let me check my notes here. I remember this piece. This is a really cool arrangement. I wrote, this performance was extremely musical and vibrant, totally connected, meaning you were just totally one with the song, which I think is a really beautiful quality. You have great left-hand technique. The dynamics and articulation was not as strong in the first part, from 38 seconds to 1 minute and 11. I feel like the dynamics and articulation was not as strong, but from 2 minutes on, it gets really, really good. I loved the drum solo. The whole vibe was totally badass, and I felt like this is a great song to arrange. I really loved it. Great job. Great interpretation. So for Nab That Chap, I gave you 46 out of 50 for a performance score. I gave you 17 out of 20 for the dynamics and articulation. I gave you 25 out of 25 for the creativity. I gave you 5 out of 5 for the difficulty level, because it was quite an ambitious arrangement and you really did a great job with it. So good work. Okay, next up we have Ilya Karima from the Ukraine with Sunny Day, an original composition. And I'm just pulling your video up here so I can visualize it. Oh yeah, this was the one with a few minutes of talking at the beginning. So, for Sunny Day, I said that your right hand thumb, and this is just my personal opinion of something to consider. Your right hand thumb has a hooking motion with the thumb joint here, so you play kind of like that sometimes. And I feel like that destabilizes the thumb. I feel like the players who have the most solid thumb technique with the right hand all play with a really straight and solid thumb. Whether you look at people from the more traditional fingerstyle world, or whether you look at the classical world like your Segovia or your Julian Bream, I feel like that thumb joint having a big bend there kind of destabilizes. So that was just something I wanted to point out. I'm pointing that out to several performers in this competition. And you have an interesting double joint to your thumb, so that's kind of interesting. I felt like there was no melody in the chorus. It was just strumming. I felt like there was some harsh notes and overall lack of dynamic control. It's all very brash and loud, so there wasn't a lot of nuance between the notes. I'm not talking about dynamics of like the chorus is louder than the verse and then the bridge or anything like that. I'm talking about how well the notes pop out at the right dynamic level. And I felt like there was a lack of dynamic control in this performance. I said overall there's a nice vibe. Sunny Day is the perfect title, but needs more melodic elements in my opinion. If it's going to be an instrumental piece, then I feel that the melody needs to tell the story. You can't just kind of... I feel like it's not fair to an audience to kind of leave them to make up the melody in their head when they're listening. You have to take them on a journey. So I feel like the verse melody was quite nice, but the chorus melody was just strumming to my ears. So for Sunny Day, I gave you a performance score of 30 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation of 8 out of 20, creativity 10 out of 25. I remember this song felt like it kind of didn't really feel like there was anything surprising in there. It was just a lot of, I kind of knew where it was going with the same chord progression. I gave you a difficulty level of 1 out of 5. I felt like it wasn't particularly technically intricate, at least in comparison to a lot of the other entries in this competition. Okay, moving on. Shentu Zhenyang with Chet Chat. I believe that's a Martin Tellstrom piece, and you did a cover of it, and I really did enjoy it. Speaking of touch, beautiful touch. This is what I wrote about Chet Chat. Gorgeous, sensitive touch, magnificent tone, excellent time and groove and feel. I really loved it. Extremely musical and connected. You felt like you were really inside the song. I would have loved a little more authority in the beginning. I felt like you started the song and it felt a little timid. So a little more authority in the beginning would be something I would love to have heard. I felt like you had a perfect level of touch and dynamics. Really, really beautiful. And that tells me that you have a great ear, that's what you're listening for, is pulling that beautiful dynamic control and quality out of your guitar. Great performance. I want to hear your songs now. That was my final remark. I want to hear your songs, not just a cover. So I'm not sure if you compose your own music, but I'd love to hear it if you do. I gave you a performance score of 44 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation score of 17 out of 20. Probably would have been a little higher if there was some more authority in the beginning of the song. Creativity, I gave you a 20 out of 25. Slash accuracy, 20 out of 25. I guess it was pretty accurate, but I felt like, That I gave you 20 out of 25 for that. Difficulty level, I gave you a 3 out of 5. So there we go. Good job. Great playing. Okay, moving on. Joshua Silas from the US with Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Okay, an original arrangement. Now, I wrote that your right shoulder looks overly rotated, and this might be a problem in the future. Just something to point out. I didn't take any points off of you for having, that posture situation, but I wanted to let you all know that I do know a lot of musicians who have had shoulder issues, rotated cuff issues, and it looks to me like your shoulder is a bit overly rotated. I wrote that you have very nice arrangement elements. The harmonics are beautiful, and the rubato intro was really beautiful. The bass notes were not consistent, and I wasn't sure whether this was intentional or not. I suspect it wasn't intentional, perhaps it was, but sometimes there were 3 bass notes, sometimes there were 2. Not sure if that was intentional. I didn't take any points off, but I just felt like it wasn't super clear if there was a pattern there. So for whatever that's worth. To me, I'd be interested if this is the truth, but you sound like you play electric guitar a lot. I feel like your touch is a little heavy, and it lacks some sweetness, at least with the acoustic, on the acoustic side of things. So that to me is indicative that you may be someone who plays electric guitar a little more than acoustic, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. At 2 minutes and 27, you have the hook thumb, and it doesn't feel totally solid. When playing the Chet Atkins style grooves, I feel that a lot of the power comes from the forearm. If you watch Tommy Emmanuel, you'll see a lot of power coming from the forearm. Whereas I wrote that, you had no power from the forearm, so you were playing just with the thumb only, which I think you may get a little more power and confidence in the thumb and the groove if you were to kind of incorporate the forearm a little bit. Anyway, watch some videos of Tommy if you want to see a great example of him doing that. I wrote that the left and right hands look a little bit tight. Overall, a very nice arrangement. Performance didn't feel it matched the mystical spirit of the song. Yeah, I remember just listening, thinking, it's a really nice arrangement. It's got a lot of really nice parts, but it didn't feel like Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It has to have that kind of sense of wonder about it, and I felt like it wasn't totally connected in that respect. So for Over the Rainbow, I gave you 40 out of 50 for your performance, 8 out of 20 for the dynamics and articulation. Creativity, I gave you 22 out of 25. And difficulty level, I gave you 2 out of 5. And, that being said, there were some insanely difficult people who put these really amazing performances on. So it's all kind of relative, the difficulty level, for what it's worth. Okay, moving on. George Sapiro from the Philippines with Huling Sandali. I'm just pulling up your video so I can see you. Yeah, this was a really nice performance. Okay, so I wrote this was a nice connected performance. I really liked the percussive elements and felt they nicely blended. They add to the piece, which I feel isn't always the case with percussive guitar moments, but I felt like your way of incorporating that really worked with the piece. Very nicely articulated melody. I felt that you looked down at your hands the whole time, which I didn't take any points away from you for that, but I felt like if you practice in front of a mirror and you get used to looking forward rather than down all the time, maybe that will free you up to not just look at your hands the whole time. I wrote that you have excellent left hand technique and that this piece is 5 minutes long and it's very repetitive. And I feel that 5 minutes is quite long for a piece that is so repetitive. So you might trim it down and feel that it's a stronger piece if you were to do that. So George, for Huline Sundali, I gave you 43 out of 50 for the performance, 17 out of 20 for the dynamics, articulation, 25 out of 25 for the creativity. I felt like it was a very unique arrangement. The percussive elements were very unique, and yeah, it was just really, really exciting and different and great. I felt that the difficulty level was 3 out of 5. So, great job, George. Moving on to Lance Allen. G'day, Lance. I hope you're well. Lance and I are friends, but I didn't let that affect my judging, hopefully. I actually have considered arranging Wonderwall myself, so I really enjoyed hearing your take on it. So, here are my comments, Lance, for whatever it's worth. I wrote that it's a wonderful arrangement. I loved that you had a low verse, a low chorus, a high verse, a high chorus, and harmonics in there. That's very much how I like to arrange. So I love that the piece takes you on a journey and it doesn't just repeat the same verse in the same position on the neck. It gives you something different each time the repetitive sections come along. So I feel like that's necessary in instrumental music because we don't have words to tell the story. So we use those arrangement techniques to tell the story. I wrote that verse 1, the melody was not coming through as loudly as the bass notes, and chorus 1 rushes a little. I am very guilty of rushing it from time to time myself. Verse 2, I loved the harmonics and the parts in general, and I felt like the execution was not totally clean. Chorus 2, I felt like had really nice harmonics and kind of rushed in places. I'm probably nitpicking there a little bit. And I noticed the hooked thumb a little bit in the way you played as well. Something to maybe consider. Not everyone's going to care about whether their thumb's hooked or not. But when I've watched the greatest fingerstyle players, I noticed that there's a real straight, solid thumb. I felt overall the bass notes were a little loud and the melody notes were a little soft. It's hard to articulate a melody in a song like this. But yeah, and I feel like it's probably hard to work up an arrangement like this quickly. It is hard to work up an arrangement like this quickly and then record it and have it be everything you kind of want it to be. But great job, Lance. I gave you 42 out of 50 for the performance. I gave you 13 out of 20 for the dynamics and articulation, because I felt like some of those melody notes weren't ringing through totally true. For the creativity, I gave you 25 out of 25, and for the difficulty level, I gave you 3 out of 5. So, there we go. Moving on. Okay, for Chen Xiong with Linhai Town. I put the characters into Google Translate, and that's what it said the song was called. It's a cover song. I'm pulling up your video so I can look at you and remember what you look like. Yep, great. So I wrote that you have lovely touch and dynamic control, great right hand technique, excellent tone production. And when I say tone production, I'm not talking about the recording production or anything like that. I'm talking about the way you pull a tone out of the guitar. It's excellent. I loved the tremolo section. I felt that it was slightly rushing in places. And I do think the performance could feel a little more passionate, a little more like you just really care about it. I felt like there were very emotional musical passages in this song, and I didn't feel the performance was as emotive. It just didn't have as much, didn't convey that feeling of you really being one with the song, inside the song. I would love to hear your original songs. Great tone and articulation. You have the ear for creating great sounds. So that was my remarks for you. I gave you a performance score of 43 out of 50. Dynamics and articulation score of 17 out of 20. Creativity, I gave you 20 out of 25. And for difficulty, I gave you 3 out of 5. So good job. Next up, another page here. He Jing with Wu Wei, which I believe is a Pierre Bensusan song. I wrote that you have outstanding left-hand technique. And I actually prefer your touch to Pierre Bensusan's. And he and I have performed together in the past. And I'm not saying anything bad about his touch, but I really liked your touch, and I felt like it was beautiful. When I was listening to Pierre's studio version of Compare, I really liked your touch on the piece. So lovely sound and tone production. You're getting a great tone from your guitar with your hands. I wrote that at 1 minute and 17 seconds, the timing loses the beat. And if you listen to Pierre, you can snap your fingers to the backbeat through the entire piece. And I can hear and see the classical influence in your playing. But I feel that this song needs the rhythmic flow of folk music. So it's a very folky type of song, which I feel isn't as fluid in your playing style. So that's just something to consider. I felt that you did a really nice job though, and had a lovely touch. And I did feel that this performance didn't feel as passionate and as expressive as Pierre, but I do prefer your touch and articulation to Pierre's. So for this performance, I gave you a performance score of 42 out of 50, the dynamics and articulation score of 14 out of 20, creativity 19 out of 25, and a difficulty level of 4 out of 5. Okay, moving on. Liu Xinyu. I'm very sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. You performed These Moments, which I believe is an Antoine Dufour piece. And here are my remarks on your performance. I felt that the percussion was much louder than the fretted notes. If you listen to Antoine's performance, then you'll hear it's much more balanced. You hear the fretted notes, and you don't just hear the percussion. I felt that this performance was very consistent, and you had a nice feel with percussive notes, and very accurate in the performance of the percussion. Excellent timing and groove, very nice technique overall. It was a very connected performance. Great passion and performance quality. I wrote that your right shoulder looks a lot higher than the left shoulder. So be aware of that. You may have some rotator cuff issues if you play like this for too long. Just something to consider. Perhaps because your right leg is on a footrest, that can be the cause. Generally speaking, the footrests are used for classical position playing with your left leg on the guitar, which creates less of a twist in the spine. And if you use a footrest on the right leg, it kind of puts your shoulder out of whack. So something to think about. Overall, it was a very musical performance. I just wanted more dynamic clarity between the percussion and the fretted notes. I gave you a score of 45 out of 50. Dynamics and articulation for the performance. Dynamics and articulation score of 15 out of 20. Creativity and accuracy, I gave you 23 out of 25. And for the difficulty level, I gave you 4 out of 5. Okay. Moving on. Jan Waterstraat. A Year From Now. From Germany. Your original composition. Yeah, Jan, I really liked this song. This was a great one, so good job. I love the way you compose, and I love the way you play, so bravo. I wrote that you have great time, great groove, and great energy. I love this tune. Great job emulating an MPC machine. That sounded like that's what the beats were doing, emulating like an old hip-hop MPC beat machine. I am bouncing to this. I was grooving away when I was listening. Super consistent percussive tones. Somewhat lacking in melodic content for my taste, but the groove is dynamite. I do realize that in some circles of modern fingerstyle guitar, melody isn't as melody doesn't tell the story as much. I like when the melody tells a story, and I feel like this was a little lacking in melodic content for me. I feel the arrangement is also quite long. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds. It has some very strong sections, but some that don't keep my attention. Overall, I love your composition instinct. I love your groove, and I love your energy. I felt that this was a very musical and connected performance. You nailed the percussive elements, and you have beautiful technique. So bravo, Jan. I gave you a performance score of 45 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation score of 16 out of 20, a creativity score of 25 out of 25, and a difficulty level of 4 out of 5. Okay, moving on. Alex Bolden from Germany with Western Skies. I felt this piece has a very cinematic quality and really nice compositional ideas and a really nice groove. I feel that your B string was a little sharp in this performance and your camera was out of focus, but I didn't give you any points. I didn't take any points away for the camera being out of focus, but I just wanted to let you know. It was focused on something in the back of the room. But great job having the melody sound clearly, especially the high notes and harmonics. It was all ringing through really clearly and beautifully. I did the rhythmic elements. I felt that this had a deep, heavy sound, and I liked that. I did feel you played with the hooked thumb, so that is something to maybe be aware of. Perhaps you want to play like that, that's fine. But I feel like you get more stability with a straight thumb, personally. I felt that the melody could be stronger in a few places, but there was some really nice ideas in this piece, Western Skies. I gave you a performance score of 42 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation score of 15 out of 20, a creativity score of 25 out of 25, and a difficulty level of 3 out of 5. All right. Next up, we have Kawin Frusi-Rithit. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but your performance, April. I'm pulling up the video now so I can see you. Got it. All right, this is your original composition. I wrote that you have a nice upbeat groove. It's a 6/8 feel, and some of the triplets are not quite in the pocket. They're a little bit rushed. So you have a da-da-da-da-da-da-da feel, and some of those triplet subdivisions were just a little bit rushed. I felt that this piece was lacking dynamic nuance. It was all a little bit heavy-handed. So it was very, very heavy-handed and not a lot of nuance between the notes. You play with the hooked thumb, and that's something to be aware of. I really did the change at 3 minutes, but this sounds kind of like a different song. I feel like the groove is much better in this second part that comes in after 3 minutes. And then I said I can see how they fit together now because you bring it back to the other piece. I feel there is room for improvement in the nuances of what you play, the dynamics, the touch, and the arrangement itself. I feel like the melody could be stronger, but this was a very nice vibe, and the ending lick is killer. So great job. I gave you a performance score of 41 out of 50, dynamics and articulation score of 9 out of 20, creativity 25 out of 25, and a difficulty level of 3 out of 5. Next up, we have Yang Shuai. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. With Instant and Eternity, I translated the characters, and that's what it told me. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but very, very cool. Let me just pull up the video so I can see what you look like. And remember listening. Oh, yes. Okay. So I feel like you have very nice technique, but your touch is lacking authority at times. So that confidence and authority in the touch on the higher strings sometimes was a little lacking. I feel that this was a very connected performance, great passion and feeling, and the composition is very nice. It could be a movie theme. Nice rubato moments, cool compositional ideas, very understated piece. And I said, overall, beautiful technique and connectedness to the spirit of the piece. Nice meter, meaning nice tempo. I'd love to hear more authority in certain phrases. And I said, bravo for the composition. I would encourage you to continue writing because I really love what you do. So I gave you a score of 44 out of 50 for the performance, 15 out of 20 for the dynamics and articulation, 25 out of 25 for the creativity, and for the difficulty, I gave you 3 out of 5. Bravo. Moving on. Nati Shaiwut from Thailand. Yi Yuan. This was the performance that is an original arrangement of yours. Yeah, this was a really impressive performance. I feel that, this was very strong. Great execution of the triplets. So, ba ba ba, ba ba ba. Very, very, very good. Very nice feel, very nice touch, lots of spirit and expressive feeling. It was very joyful, and I just really, really felt the spirit of what you were playing. I love the finger snaps. I heard you do that a couple times in the tune. Perfect tuning, great technique, very, very, very cool arrangement, extremely connected, and everything works. Great job. No criticism from me. So I had nothing negative to say about your performance. I feel like you had outstanding rhythmic control and articulation. And I love that this arrangement is short and sweet with no filler. It's just all the good stuff. So bravo. I gave you a performance score of 48 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation score of 19 out of 20. Creativity, I gave you 25 out of 25, and for the difficulty level, I gave you 5 out of 5. So great job. Good luck. Next, Fan Anasathithorn from Thailand. That's probably the most entertaining part of this video, is watching me try to pronounce y'all's names. Odyssey, original composition. All right. I pulled up your video. I remember your performance. Great job. So nice chords and composition. I feel like you play with a really good rhythmic feel and great triplets. But it's very heavy-handed. Sometimes you were pulling notes so hard they were going out of tune. I feel like the posture you play with, meaning your kind of back, it looks very uneven. And on your left hand, the wrist extension is very extreme, meaning your wrist is extended like with a big bend. And ideally, we want to not have that be too extreme. So those are a few technical things to consider. Your right hand and forearm look quite tense. So I would work hard on trying to relax those hands and play with a little bit. My posture is not perfect, but if you could work on playing with more of a neutral relaxed posture, I think that would be something that you would benefit from. Good accuracy in the triplets. Yeah, I feel like the rhythmic quality of your performance was stronger than the dynamic quality of your articulation of the notes. Good dramatic quality to the piece. Nice melodic content during the beginning. Some nice melodic ideas in the first groove sections. Then it departs into arpeggios and loses energy for me. Cool parts, but I'm wanting more melodic information. Then there's lots of aggressive strumming. I feel like there's a lack of structure in this piece for my taste. I feel like there were too many sections. It's like there are 6 or more sections. I lost count. But very nice compositional ideas and instinct. It's a very cinematic way of writing, a very cinematic beat sound. So I would say great job on the composition. Keep writing. Consider having a little more repetition and a little more melodic storytelling within your compositions. And consider working on your touch and your posture and your technique a little bit, because it felt a little stiff, heavy-handed, and the wrist was quite extended. So for this performance of Odyssey, I gave you a performance score of 43 out of 50, dynamics and articulation score of 13 out of 20, creativity I gave you 24 out of 25, and difficulty I gave you 4 out of 5. Okay, moving on. Ilona Balou from France. They Don't Care About Us. Great song, Michael Jackson. This is your original arrangement, and I really, really enjoyed it. So these are my notes. I wrote that this is a very, very cool arrangement. Great job. I love the elements, and I love the build-up. I love the drum groove. Yeah, it starts off with a drum groove, then you play the melody, and then the beat drops with the melody. And that to me was like the moment where I was like, oh, this is super cool. I really enjoyed that. I feel like the arrangement was very cohesive. So it all fit together beautifully. It was a very connected performance, meaning you were just really right there inside the song. I do feel like the arrangement could be shorter because it went on quite a bit. Almost 5 minutes is a lot for a solo guitar piece. I do realize that Michael Jackson's studio recording went for that long, but he has words to tell the story. We don't have words, so I would feel like maybe a shorter arrangement might be a little more, a little stronger. I felt that the melodic articulation, the melody articulation, could be cleaner, and the tuning might be too low in this performance. It felt like there were some notes that were getting hit out of tune. Maybe it's the setup of the guitar you were playing. I didn't take any points away from you for that being an influence, but anyway, good groove overall, especially in the verses, but did lose tightness in a few places. So there are a few places where it got a little loose on the groove. But this is a very difficult arrangement to play, and I think the arrangement itself is really, really strong. And I'm like that. I try to arrange things that are a real challenge, and I think that's a great quality because it means you're always moving forward and pushing yourself. So great job putting this together. I feel like it's a very, very strong arrangement and very musical, and great song choice. For performance, I gave you 42 out of 50. For the dynamics and articulation, I gave you 14 out of 20. For the creativity, I gave you 25 out of 25. And for the difficulty level, I gave you 4 out of 5. So, great job, Ilona. Look forward to hearing more from you. Next up, we have Du Desi with Blue Era. Blue Desi's from China. Du Desi, I'm sorry. Du Desi Blue Era. I'm just pulling up your video so I can put a face to the name. Got it. Okay, so I wrote that you have a nice backbeat groove. And overall, very good sound production. You're pulling a great sound out of your instrument. I feel like the composition was not quite melodically cohesive for me. It felt a little lacking in focus with the compositional ideas. Yeah, I remember there was a move that goes from D major to D minor to A minor. And I suggested reconsidering this melodic move. I felt like it was just a little bit, it wasn't working for me. So, and you play with a hooked thumb at different times. So be aware of that. But you have a very good bass feel. I remember the sound of the bass and the feel of the bass and the groove was very good. So good job on that. What I would suggest with composing like this is to write a chord chart. So write out the chords bar by bar and look at the chord structure and ask yourself if it makes sense. Does it look like it all fits and all belongs? Because I was listening thinking if I was to write a chord chart of this, it would look like it just didn't really have any cohesive quality to it. I felt like the strumming D minor to C major 7 to B half diminished section felt a little out of place. But overall, very nice playing, nice groove. And I'd say keep composing. For Blue Era, I gave you a performance score of 41 out of 50. Dynamics and articulation score of 16 out of 20. Creativity score of 20 out of 25. And a difficulty level of 2 out of 5. Good job. Okay. Next up, we have Mateus Lacerda from Brazil with this song Fireplace. I recall this song being very short. Yep, minute 47 seconds. That's pretty short. That's not a full song. Mateus, I really love your playing. Gorgeous compositional elements. Really, really beautiful. I wrote that the backbeat was a little loud at times, but you have a great rhythmic flow. Excellent groove. Really, really, really musical. But it's so short, this isn't really a full song yet. There are a couple of harsh notes in the beginning that I felt like you can do better than that. And I heard as the performance went on, the dynamics were very nice and controlled. I think you could potentially improve the intro. So I feel like the intro was maybe not as strong as the subsequent sections, which were very cool and very interesting, and really unique. Lovely technique and outstanding musicality. I did feel that the title, Fireplace, kind of feels a little bit bland. It feels like a bit of a lazy title to me. I've been guilty of lazy titles, believe me, but yeah, I would think you could try to find a better title for it if you're interested in changing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this song is already finished in your mind, but I feel like it doesn't match how special the piece is. It's a very mystical piece. And yeah, Fireplace just feels like, I don't know, I feel like it wasn't quite matching for me, but that's just my silly opinion. Okay. Moving on. Linda Schreiber from Germany. You did a medley of Western Sky, Sunflower, and Flight. I remember this performance. Good job, Linda. Okay, so here's what I wrote. Very nice touch and meter. So nice, steady tempo. Lovely sound production, beautiful tone you're getting from your guitar. Articulation and dynamics. There were some harsh notes in the strumming section. And with the third piece, I noticed the hook thumb come in a few times. Something to be aware of. I felt that the timing was a little off in a few places, but overall, really nice job. And I do feel that the touch could be more refined, especially as the as the medley went on. And I felt that this medley was not super congruent to me. They didn't all fit together in my mind, but perhaps there's some, maybe when you perform this song, you tell a story or something, but I felt like it just was kind of like it was just like three mini songs. In the second and third song, I felt like the touch wasn't quite as sweet and refined. So, Linda, I gave you a performance score of 42 out of 50, a dynamics and articulation score of 15 out of 20, creativity slash accuracy, I gave you 12 out of 25. I'm sorry if you feel that's not fair, but yeah, I just felt like the medley itself was a bit just didn't really fit together for me. Difficulty level, I gave you 2 out of 5. And lovely playing, and thanks very much. Okay, Shyam Rajendran from India with Awakening, a cover of Maneli Jamal's cover. Yeah, this was a great performance. I really, really enjoyed this performance. Let me pull up the notes here. Okay, Awakening. So very nice sound production. You were getting a great sound from your guitar, from your fingers. I wrote that the left hand looked a little tight in the beginning when you were up at the very high frets. I remember watching. But overall, excellent dynamics, excellent high notes. The highs and the lows were all beautiful. And you were perfectly in tune with a great touch, except for the build-up when you pull the notes out of tune a little bit. But I didn't take any points away from you for that, because maybe that build-up was meant to be a bit not perfectly in tune. But you seem very connected to the music. You were inside of the song, and very nice technique overall. And I think you are a really beautiful player, a really beautiful musician, and you did a great job here. Bravo, that was a great performance. For your performance of Awakening, I gave you 46 out of 50 for the performance, 18 out of 20 for the dynamics and articulation, 25 out of 25 for the creativity / accuracy, and 4 out of 5 for the difficulty level. Felt like that was a very difficult piece, and you nailed it, and you nailed all the beautifully expressive parts of that song. It felt like a very cohesive expression. So great job. Really great job. I look forward to hearing more from you. Okay, next up we have Julian Weimer from Germany with Ocean Tides. Julian, I wrote that this piece had really nice chords and melodic intro. In fact, really, really cool chords. I'm remembering your song now. I have your video pulled up in front of me. I feel like the high notes were not articulated clearly, and it was slightly rushed in places, but there were seriously cool chords going on in this song. It was so groovy. Groovy. I love this piece. I feel like it's a short song. It's 2 minutes long. So is it not finished yet? Didn't feel quite finished. I feel like the articulation and touch could be better, but really, really outstandingly good writing. So I was really impressed with the writing. I wanted to steal some of your chord changes. I feel like you stole them from Toto or some great bands from that era. And I mean stole as a great compliment. So, Julian, Ocean Tides, I gave you a performance score of 43 out of 50. Dynamics and articulation score of 13 out of 20. Creativity, I gave you 25 out of 25. And the difficulty level, I gave you 2 out of 5. So, great job. Next up, we have Mark Polowat Now this was a really seriously cool song, Conquer. Perfect title, by the way. You know what? I gotta come back to Mark Polowat because I skipped over Max Willow. Sorry about that. I don't want to confuse my notes here. Max, you also had a great performance. I remember it. When you turn your guitar onto your lap, I was like, well, hold on, what's going on here? Okay, Max Willow from Austria. Let's do this one first. Goosebumps. Very nice feel. And cool use of your elbow for percussion. I really thought that was great. Great musicality. The pull-offs were executed beautifully. Remember there was that section where you did all that pull-off work. That was was a really cool part. Almost sounded like a classical exercise or something. Super cool compositional elements. Great tune. I feel like it was slightly rushing in places, and I tend to do that too. Very nice transition to lap playing. I bet that would go over well in a performance. I was wondering what it was going to do for 6 minutes. When I heard you start, I was thinking, all right, I'm digging this. And then I'm like, how's he going to do this for 6 minutes? What's he going to do? And then you went on your lap, and I was like, okay, that's a worthy reason to extend the song for a couple minutes because you were going to introduce that whole new technique. So really beautiful and interesting, impressive composition and playing. Spectacular. I don't have any criticism. Beautiful. So Max, for Goosebumps, I gave you a score of 46 out of 50 for your performance, 18 out of 20 for your dynamics and articulation, 25 out of 25 for your creativity and accuracy, and 5 out of 5 for the difficulty level of this piece. So, great job, Max. Look forward to hearing more from you, mate. Okay, Mark Polowat from Thailand with Conquer. So this is a great title for that song. I just feel like this was really, really special piece of music. Great vibe and beautiful touch. Brilliant voicings. Totally connected to the music. You were inside the song. Perfect groove. It was really an amazing performance. Amazing. Great technique. Very unique tune. It was haunting. Perfect dynamics. Such cool rhythmic ideas. And I loved when the theme came back in at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. This song kept my interest. I was glued to the screen for the entire 6 minutes of this performance. It really, really was impressive that you performed all these intricate sections and weave them together in a way that was like this 6 minute brilliant composition. Amazing performance. Whoa. This was epic. Look forward to hearing more from you. This was very kick-ass from start to end. And I will say that I saw a little bit of your video from Neon, and I feel like this was way better than Neon. I feel like this was just like absolute top level. And when I heard Neon, I was like, oh yeah, that wasn't as exciting to me. But that's me. So, Mark Polowat from Thailand. I gave you a performance score of 49 out of 50. I gave you a dynamics and articulation score of 20 out of 20. I gave you a creativity and articulation / accuracy score of 25 out of 25 and a difficulty level of 5 out of 5. So that's a score of 99. So you kick butt. Seriously, great. All right, Yuan Man with Wu Wei. This was also a really spectacular performance. You have the same way that Mark's song felt like this was a finished studio record. Not that everyone needs to have like studio quality recording, but it just felt like the kind of performance that was so special that it's like an album. It's like a painting. And your rendition of Wu Wei, which is the Ben Susan tune, was similar in this regard. Gorgeous touch from the first note. I feel like I know you when I hear you play. And that's my favorite thing in hearing a performer, is feeling like I know them through the notes they play. That's the biggest compliment I can give anyone, really. I feel like this was a completely connected performance. Flawless articulation. Truly breathtaking. Such great tone, great feel, great feeling and articulation. Absolutely stunning performance. Like guitar playing on the highest level. Bravo, you did a really great job. So, what score did I give you? I gave you for your performance, I gave you a score of 49 out of 50. For the dynamics and articulation, I gave you a score of 20 out of 20. For the creativity / accuracy, I gave you a 25 out of 25. I feel like you really embodied the creative spirit of this song, and it was such a beautiful performance. I bet Pierre would just love hearing you perform this song. And I felt like the difficulty, I gave you a 4 out of 5. So you got a final score of 98, one less than Mark. Just based on the fact that I feel like Mark's piece was extraordinarily ambitious. But you both play on like the highest level, and I really commend that. Really impressive. We just have one more. Eamon Busahani. I'm sorry, that's probably the worst Australian pronunciation of your name you ever heard. From Morocco with I Just Died in Your Arms tonight. Great song. Very cool arrangement idea. So I wrote this was a very nice arrangement. The melody articulation could be clearer. And you do play with the hook thumb on the right hand, so just be aware of that. If you watch Segovia, Julian Bream, or Tommy Emmanuel, check out their thumb and watch how straight it is and solid. They don't play with a hook thumb like that. I feel like this piece could use more dynamics and dynamic articulation, that is. Very cool arrangement idea to arrange this song. I feel like you have a really nice sound, really nice feel, and I'd encourage you to just keep going, keep arranging, keep recording, keep posting. That's basically the advice to everyone in this competition, is just keep up the great work, because I really thought it was impressive. So, Eamon, your performance scores were 40 out of 50 for the performance, 13 out of 20 for the dynamics and articulation, 23 out of 25 for the creativity / accuracy. I feel like this was a really great arrangement, great idea for a song, and you did a good job with it. And difficulty, I gave you 2 out of 5. So, great job, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this competition. I was very honored. I feel like I hope that any criticism or negative remarks were not taken in the wrong way at all. I'm very hard on my own playing, and I listen to my own playing and I hear all the mistakes that I'm telling y'all about. So, all that being said, I wish you all the best and congratulations for being in the finals. Take it easy and take care.